Person 62, so your energy engages on the rainbow bridge, and as you descend down onto the rainbow bridge, you have an umbrella, and in your hand, you're floating down, and then the umbrella upturns, and so you start floating now, sinking into like a chimney, and your umbrella becomes like one of those chimney sweeps, and I get the Mary Poppins, you know that song, the chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo. And I start seeing this like performance right on the rooftops with all those men that are like popping out of the chimneys and cleaning the chimneys and then sinking back down. And from here instantly then I get a vision of like a sign, and I see like this sad clown kind of on the like on its side on the sign, and instantly the sad clown turns into that sad mask and the happy mask, and those masks that traditionally represent the theater and performing arts. And so now I'm starting to question, I like was getting this musical, and then the clown and a performer, and then I'm getting the classical depiction of theater with the happy and sad mask. And so if you're not in theater, then we're talking about you performing heavily in life. So if you're not in theater or not in the performing arts or acting or anything like this, then take all these symbols as somebody who's masking. A lot of this so far has been like emotional and masking, and so like playing out a role maybe that's not typically you. And so then moving forward, from there I get this dragon, and it's one of those dragons, I think in China, that they do at a traditional holiday. Maybe it's the Chinese New Year, and the dragon comes out, and it's representative of bringing in the luck of the new year, I think. But I'm not so focused on the dragon as I am the performer or the man and all in white that's holding the stick in the head of the dragon and is like doing all these dance like choreographed movements and really engaged, yet nobody can see him, but he's like so in his character doing all of these amazing movements as the head of the dragon. And so like nobody can see him, but yet he's still acting out and like doing this to the best of his ability, right? And it's like, it feels like such an honor. And from here, then the dragon starts to descend down into the ground. And so I see now this like two-dimensional, like this dragon kind of just starts burrowing a hole into the ground. And it starts to, as soon as it's all the way submerged underground, it starts to form into the circle where the dragon head is now eating the dragon's tail, and it makes this perfect circle. And so that's like a classic symbol of the snake swallowing its tail, which I think classically represents immortality. And so back at the dragon, I kind of got a feeling of like, are we looking at past life? Are we looking at some kind of incarnation here? And then now going into this dragon swallowing its tail, I get, again, immortality or something that's maybe strung through your life cycles. It feels very connected, would be a good word. And so then this, or it could even be generational. I got that feeling too, because then this in the middle of this circle then grew this flower, and this flower blossomed into a white tulip. But instead of it being white, it sucked up all the colors of the dragon, and all these colors, they were like it was basically like an aura around this flower, and all these like tie-dyed colors were just like, I don't know, it was almost like a hallucination, right? It was so vivid and like moving and pulsating and alive. And so these colors then kind of formed into this beam and beamed this light in through the portal, which usually takes us to the next scene, and manifested this snail. So from the snake comes a snail. And so the snail then I witness, crawling on the top of kind of loose ground or dirt, and he's moving so slow like a snail would move, and just like trying his hardest just to like make it to whatever the destination is, right? And so I see him on the ground, but the ground is a loose gravel, and he's like really moving through, it's like a bumpy path. And so ground to me is always root chakra, and root chakra is always family, stability, career, finance, you know, like your tribal concepts, all of that. And so moving back through, if there's anything to do with you in the performing arts, I'm getting, you know, a clear connection that there's something, or even in career, that there's something that's being masked or played out or performed in a way. And even if it is performing arts, it's almost like there's this desperate need to be seen or witnessed in the role that you're playing, and but it's not creating you any stability. It's like it's still unstable. It's like still this hard grind. Basically, it's like taking, I don't know, it's the hard path, it feels like. And so from here, the snail sees a flower, and it starts crawling up the side of this flower. And as it gets, you know, above the dark ground covering and making its way up to the petals, and it finally gets on top of the flower, it can see out over everything, and it's in this beautiful field of flowers, and the sun's coming down, and the snail's like on top of the world, and it has perspective. It's finally gained like this perspective it was seeking. And as soon as that happens, this bird comes and picks it up in its claws, and it's like, no. It's like, you know, I feel like the food chain is being played out, like, you know, the low man on the food chain is now being consumed, or going to be consumed. But what happens is the bird actually takes you to this ground that is super easy to walk on, and it actually places you right in front of your Akashic records, and the bird becomes this ally for you. So what's really interesting is that from your energy, I saw the bird as a threat and as like this higher up person on the food chain, a person of power, right? So I'm relating this to your life. So it was almost like there was this fear to connect because this person had a position that you wanted. And, you know, there was almost this like, it felt like animosity towards the situation. They were removing you from like your desired highest perspective or your desired position. But this bird was really acting as like an ally, a mentor, a guide for you. So I feel like there might be this person in your life that's kind of waiting for you, and you might see as a threat, but they are looking to you as like a prodigy or somebody that they want to take under their wing. And so I would look for that energy in your life, because I feel like that's what was being conveyed here. And then they put you basically right in front of your Akashic records. And so, of course, this person's going to deliver you to the wisdom that you seek, right? So the Akashic records always hold our wisdom. So as you moved, the records are now like all kind of blades of grass, and it's a really cool kind of looking. I don't know if you were down, you know, the size of an ant looking at grass. That's kind of like what your Akashic records look like. And so you move into the records, and it was, and so wait, before that there was, so right when the snail saved you, the song Singing in the Rain starts taking place. And so it's singing in the rain, what a glorious feeling, I'm happy again, or whatever the whole message is. But basically it's like the traditional concept of rain, and a rainy day is gloomy and sad and heavy, yet, you know, you can find this line of happiness and allow yourself to kind of come out of that heaviness, right? So I think that's the meaning behind that song, kind of singing in the rain, or the feeling at least. And so as you move into your records, there are these few like raindrops, and they almost look like dewdrops that come falling down, and they position themselves on these like blades of grass that are formed as like podiums. And so now you're still in the, you know, the small space of like a snail or whatever, or that perspective. And so this big water droplet is sitting, and it's like your crystal ball on this blade of grass. And so I get that the rain is this clarity. So again, I'm bounced back to like what you thought, you know, when the bird came and grabbed you in its claws. It's almost like this heaviness, this gloomy situation, you know, gonna be eaten by something larger on the food chain. Yet, you know, at the end of it, it was really like this light at the end of the tunnel, that this person was here to help you and mentor you and rescue you and kind of take you further in what your goals were. And so I'm getting this raindrop now, or this dew in your Akashic records, and it's almost like it's the raindrop, it's the clarity, it's like the perspective. So I get this, maybe that there's this ego component that's involved, where maybe, there's this your perspective on the situation that surrounds you in this kind of work field or career path, which I feel you're very aligned to, and that's all that past life stuff. And I think this is what your higher self said in a minute, but you're very aligned to your path. But there's this ego component that isn't allowing you to see clearly that which surrounds you. So there's people who are looking to help you, but because of something, something you're not seeing clearly, kind of really what's going on. And so it's, how do you raise yourself above the position on the mountain that you're at right now to see a little bit more clearly really what's going on in your situation. And so the next thing, I call down your higher self, and it's this beautiful golden ball of light, and it actually moves right into the center of the dewdrop. And so I immerse myself into the dewdrop so that I can engage your higher self. And I ask the higher self, I say, what's for the greatest good for this person to know at this moment in time? And your higher self shows me you've become kind of like this, almost like fairy-ish kind of creature now. And you're zooming around your records, kind of peeking through the grass, and like you've made hammocks in your records. And so it's like you're taking full advantage, and you're really comfortable in your what records also are like purpose, destiny, right? Soul purpose. So I get that you're like super aligned and comfortable with your destiny, and whatever it is you're doing, I feel like you're really in line with it. But there's this perspective. And so your higher self basically tells me that it's time for you to change that perspective and to seek out the help of those around you, to lose the ego and allow yourself to become or find this kind of place that for you may feel really vulnerable, but for another is really empowering. I mean, think of somebody who wants to take on a protege, both a prodigy and a protege. Think of that person, right? They're looking to pass on all of their wisdom to somebody else. And so, but as the person who's looking to seek or gain that wisdom or that upper hand, you have to be able to let go of the ego that says that, I'm right in line with them, or I'm better than them, or I don't need their help, So I feel like there's this kind of dynamic going on or playing out for you. So, and that might, if you're not in theater or the performing arts, that might be what all of that was in the beginning, is, putting on this mask that isn't you, that, that you're playing out this, tougher than you need to be person, when there's somebody there that's looking to basically hand over the keys to everything for you. And this, I think, keeps you so divinely aligned to whatever this purpose is. So that's what I received with light and love.